In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules and tuning into our podcast tonight. Our podcast is Let Us Make Man. Tonight, we are discussing security and securing ourselves in today's time of senseless violence. Some of us have lost friends and family through these acts of violence, but they're increasing more and more every day. We are the Jock Brothers. I'm your brother, Brother Ahmed, and let me start by introducing my co-host, as we do every show. But first and foremost, let me introduce a special addition to our team tonight. My brothers asked when we were discussing this show that they wanted to hear something from the sisters, a female perspective of the violence and the criminality that's going on in today's time. And one sister popped into my head immediately. This sister is born from a family of soldiers, captains, dignitary trainers from Allah's and God's army. She has years of dignitary protection training. She's a mother, a wife, a sister, and a trainer. Please let us bring on, with a strong Jock Brothers round of applause, our sister, Talia Mariam Muhammad.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show. All praises due to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, sister, for coming on. Thank you so much. Next, we have all brother Kawi. Come on, Kawi.
Hey, you must not have got your check, brother. That's introduction.
No, I'm sorry. Next, let's bring on a soldier, a mentor, a father, a business owner, a friend. He inspires and motivates men. Please bring on my brother, my friend, and your brother, Brother Kawi Muhammad.
Hello, Laker family.
Walaikum salam, my brother.
So happy to have you two on the show. I know, Brother Kevin, you are just a staunch veteran when it comes to the Jock Brothers, and I appreciate you taking our invitation again. And Sister Talia.
Yes, sir.
So looking forward to the female perspective on things. I had a chance to ask them a few questions before the show started, and they seem to be ready to go. But thank you again, Jock Nation, for tuning in, supporting us. We have some stern competition tonight, but we're gonna make it do what it do. And of course, for everybody, for everybody that's always tuned in to the Jock Brothers, we thank you for that. Jock Nation has always been the one thing that has kept us really consistent over the last few years, and we are going on 3 years of Jock Brothers episodes. Matter of fact, July the 21st of this year would be 3 years of episodes. And this could not have been possible without the support of the Jock Nation. So we thank you for your continued support. We was a mess. We was a total mess in the beginning. But we have refined ourselves over the course of the last 3 years. And for those of you that has donated financially to the platform for the different initiatives that we had going on over the years, we thank you. Words can't thank you enough. Again, now, Jock Nation, we ask that you please share the show. Again, Jock is not spelled like Jacques Cousteau the way he said it. It's spelled JAKQ Brothers. You go to YouTube, put in JAKQ Brothers. Please share. Please subscribe. And please hit the bell so you can get alerts for upcoming shows. Now, we've had several initiatives. We supported the youth. We had prison initiatives, and we actually got some more initiatives on the way. So continue to tune in and get the latest updates on what we be trying to go going forward. We are more interested in being an interactive podcast than just be a podcast in theory. So thank you, Jock Nation. Back to you, Brother Ahmed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Next on our screen, we have my brother, who has over 32 years of martial arts and security training, second degree black belt. He has worked in the development and the deployment of many security-based trainings, with various organizations and law enforcement officials. Additionally, and now he is a helper in the planning and development of the International Training Conference. Let's bring on my brother, our brother, Brother Calvin Muhammad.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us, brother. Thank our guests for joining on. Let's get started with our conversation.
Before you get started, brother Ahmed, you got 32 years of martial arts training, brother Kevin.
33. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
33 now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
You don't. I ain't gonna say nothing. Go ahead. You know. Don't you pose a scout person? You know. Yes, sir. Yes, I don't want to try you, brother. All right, go ahead, Ahmed.
Thank you. Let's get our conversation started. Wow, I was watching a video and brother had mentioned in the Bible. He said something very profound. He said, "For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people." That just made me think about the time that we're in. We're in a time of gross darkness. The people, the United States, in one of the posts, the United States stated that they're seeing on an average more than one mass killing weekly. As of May 7th, 2023, there has been 202 mass shootings defined by the archive as involving at least 4 people killed or injured by firearms, excluding the shooter, since the beginning of this year. I mean, these statistics are real, and we're seeing it. If you're watching the news, if you're dealing with social media, these instances are happening in our cities, in our inner cities, in the suburbs, in all the areas that we live in. So our show tonight, we wanted to discuss how do we prepare ourselves? How do we secure ourselves? How do we live in this time without living in fear? So the first thing I wanted to bring up to our panel is how do we live in today without living in fear of one another? How do we go about our daily day and watching all this violence on the news and TV and even in our streets? How do we go about our day without involving ourselves and living in this time in fear?
Excellent question.
Excellent question. May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Okay, praise be to Allah. So, for me, I believe faith has is the number one dynamic in this discussion, because with all the training that we do and all the readiness classes that we can take to be prepared for these mass shootings or any, as you say, criminality that we could be a part of, having faith is most important. Getting up in the morning and saying my prayers. I don't know about anybody else, but praying to Allah and Allah walking with me throughout my day. I don't fear anything happening to me because I know that I have Allah. Now, that doesn't mean that nothing can't happen. It doesn't mean that there won't be a circumstance or a situation that I may encounter. And honestly, I don't know how I'll act in that situation. Only thing I can do is pray to Allah that He gives me a clear mind and make me able to respond the way that I've been training to respond in whatever the circumstance is. But we can't live in fear. We fear no one but Allah. So if we really believe that, and if we sometimes, we say that we fear no one but Allah, but we're man, we're human. So fear pops up into our heart, can pop up into our heart at the drop of the dime, but you can't let it stay there. You got to call on the God and believe that, He's going to see you through whatever it is that you're encountering or dealing with at the time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Praise you to Allah.
Beautiful. I could, if I may, just take what the sister started with. starting with our faith, right? That's the key ingredient. If we were going on a 100% basis, then we're looking at 99.9% of it being our faith.
That's right.
But, you know, when we talk about fear, you know, I learned this from my teacher, Grand Master Abdul Aziz Muhammad. When you're faced with troubled situations, potentially dangerous situations, there's this feeling that comes up in us, right? The heart starts to pump, your breathing may get exacerbated. There's a physiological reaction to danger that one naturally has.
Right.
But when we're talking about fear, and in regards to your question, and if I could borrow my sister's word, we're taught to fear none but Allah. And that commandment we're given is given almost as though it's a choice, right? Like this is the option that we're taking, but there is another option. And so what I've learned in training, that there's a difference, you know, between fear and that feeling that you get in presence of danger. Sometimes we miscategorize that as fear, right? Oh, I was afraid, you know, because, you know, I started shaking. But that's the gift that Allah gave us to face danger. He heightens the senses. When you don't even know that your eyesight gets sharper, right? Your smelling increases. And so he's already prepared us to face the threat. But the fear is the belief within ourselves when danger arises that there is no other option. There's hopelessness, and it inclines one in the face of danger to concede to the threat, right? And so when you ask that question, how do we deal with fear? First of all, of course, we have to get rid of that feeling to want to concede to the threat, as the sister mentioned before. When we go outside our houses, or when we go out and about to our workplaces or places of worship, we have been so conditioned that it's easier to concede to a possible threat than to face it with the natural talents that we're giving. And that's where training comes in preparation. All right.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. Now I'm glad both of you answered the question we did, especially when we're dealing with that option, that the faith or the other. Many are now saying that we should have more access to firearms. Everyone should carry a weapon. We should have, but in that, we should have gun control. We should have access to firearms, but it should be stricter gun laws and to prevent these tragedies. And then some are saying that just give everybody a gun. What's happening in this world is just based on mental health, all this violence that everybody should have a gun. But those instances that are happening are coming from just mental violence. So when it comes down to having firearms and weapons, it's becoming very popular today. The rights to carry are happening in every city and every state more and more. What do you say to this, where people feel that, well, I have faith, but it's popular now and it seems more safer to carry firearms?
I always concede to my sister because I can see she's thinking, and I don't want to mess that train of thought up. So I'll give her a moment. I'll concede to her.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that we don't carry as much as a penknife.
Come on.
And that's you know, for the believers, for the Muslims, for those who fear no one but Allah, we don't carry as much as a penknife.
Right.
You know, so
but hold up, sister. Hold up.
Yes,
is that
sir.
crazy though? Is that crazy to think that way in 2023 when somebody just knocked on the door in Florida to settle the dispute and got shot through the door?
No, sir. It's not crazy for me when I think about how many of our young boys are shot to death with no real reason. And then, you know, they scapegoat on the fact that, oh, he had a knife. Oh, he had a gun. He may not even have went for it, but then here they lay dead and they scapegoat on the fact that they were carrying this weapon. I remember the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan telling us to not have weapons, not to carry guns, and make sure that, you know, we don't carry guns because the police would be looking for a reason to come in our homes and bust down our doors and shoot us and kill our children just to say, oh, we have reason to believe that there's a weapon in that home. So no, sir, I don't think it's crazy that we're taught that. You know, I'm a firm believer that in my faith actually fuels my willingness to obey the instructions of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I know that they have the sight, they have the ear from the words coming straight directly from the God. So I don't fear or think that that's a crazy thought process. So, you know, carrying guns, I can't really weigh in it because I don't have a desire to. I don't feel a need to, because I just know that Allah is God. So if I would pray that if I'm ever faced in a dynamic where someone is pointing a gun at me through our training and of course through our prayers and faith, that I'm able to get out of that situation the best way that Allah shows me how to get out of it. But I don't think it's crazy that the instruction is for us not to carry any weapons at all.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Brother Calvin, you train men in security, you train law enforcement. There's weapons there. There's a need for weapons in those capacities. How do you approach the men that you're training and even their families when it comes down to carrying, because they have to carry for work, they have to carry for other details and measures? How do you teach them and talk to them about and their families about carrying?
You know, I first have to, you know, everything I do, everything I learn, every action I take is filtered through the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I was listening to a lecture of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad where he talked about why he doesn't have us to carry firearms. And I'm going to quote him. He said, if I permitted you to carry firearms, you would only kill one another. Right?
Come on.
And so from that perspective, starting off, there's so much wisdom in us carrying firearms. Now, I've had an opportunity to be with Grandmaster Abdulaziz Muhammad in the training of law enforcement. And in watching and observing him, he has that very same thought when he's training. He's teaching and training someone in an effort to make sure that they don't have to reach for the firearm, or they could control one who is attempting to reach. That's why you can see in all of his training, he catches you as you reach for the holster, or he teaches law enforcement different techniques, different things so that they don't have to rely on their firearm. So it's not their default, but it's something that they can utilize in order to quell or control a situation so the real threat or the real problem can be dealt with. And that's the perspective that we usually approach that situation. And we fall on the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad with the thought that because, you know, gun control is out there, is built into the very fabric of the nation. And I'm sure we're going to dive into that. But at the end of the day, it is a weapon of war designed to kill. And we can see why this world and the enemy would feel with their cliches to fight fire with fire. But what we've learned in our training is that if you take away the weapon from a person who intends to do it, it's like taking away their God. And that's what this world does. They use the firearm as one of their many gods, right? And so that's the perspective by which we approach it.
Now, brother Kevin, I'm sorry. The Grand Master, he's having trouble getting on. I want to know, could you help him out?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you. What you about to say, sister?
I was going to say that I love the point that Brother Calvin made with the words from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because, you know, we're taught that we hate ourselves, you know, and that's why the highest rate of crime is black on black crime, because we hate ourselves. So that's a very key and you know, that's a very good point, that if he allowed us to carry them, we would only use them on each other.
Right.
Wow.
That's a sad part.
Yes.
So I do have a niece. She's about 30 years old. I mean, soaking wet, she probably weighs about 110 pounds.
Yes, sir.
I mean, she has been told, look, you know, you need some way to protect yourself. She do not have martial arts training, and she got to go about it. She got to go about it, you know, about public, and so she has you know, guns on her all the time. And what I learned about her is that it puts her in the mindset of I'm not scared anymore.
Yep, I'm gonna be okay.
Right. And so what would you say to somebody, and there's a lot of sisters, like, I'm not, you know, there's a lot of women that feels that have that power. What would you say to them?
That's right.
Yes, sir. Well, you know, unfortunately, we're living in a time where women are the most unsafe. We're the most targeted. You know, it is very unfortunate. And so you have a lot of women picking up arms because they feel like that's the best way to protect themselves and their families. You know, society views and shows us as weak. You know, it's easy to overpower us. We're weak. We're timid. You know, we just scream in the midst of anything that's coming at us. And so a lot of the women pick up these weapons, but honestly, without proper training, they're not really at an advantage.
Right.
You're not really at an advantage without the proper training. If you're scared in the midst of a situation, you go to pull your gun, you shoot, you just pulling it out and shoot. You shoot someone an innocent bystander, which we just had a situation like that here in Charlotte. 2 men arguing at a hot dog stand, and the person that was shot was someone that was making a purchase, wasn't even one of the 2 that were in the argument, you know. So they're not really at an advantage in carrying the weapon. Or if someone is able to overpower you while you have that weapon and take it from you and then use it on you, you're still not at an advantage. So without the proper training, you know, it's still null and void. It doesn't make you more safer. And it goes along with that mindset that one of you were saying, that, you know, it's I have a gun, so, you know, this is like a God. I'm safe. I'm good. I got a gun. I'm good. I don't have to worry about nothing. You got a gun. The other person got a gun. Somebody else got a bigger gun. Somebody else got a more powerful gun. We just all got guns and we just shooting for what? You know, it doesn't make you safer at the end of the day.
Well, my attitude that I have is it's only effective if you can get it out.
That part.
And so now, you know, so say that, you know, we brazen these days, right? If she can't get it out and I get hold to it, what can she do? What now versus you? What can you do versus my niece? What would be the difference? Because I know you take a little. So if I grab my niece or a sister that she has a gun and I grab her at night, what defense do she have versus somebody that goes through the training and what the 2 of you are alluding to?
So the best defense is, first of all, to be so aware of your surroundings that I'm not going to allow you to grab me. That's the first thing. But if, you know, by some chance, taken by surprise, somebody steps out, somebody grabs, my best defense is to go right into work. Start working them. Start doing the things that we are trained to do. When, you know, the blessing for me personally, I've been training for quite some time. I was training in the class as a 7 or 8 year old in New York when Grandmaster was teaching the women of the MGT class there. So I've been training for quite some time. Doesn't mean that I'm the baddest thing out. I'm just saying that, you know, in certain circumstances, we train for different circumstances. We train on how to get out of being grabbed from behind. We train on how to get out of being choked. We train on like the brother said, someone going for their gun, how to stop them from pulling it out their holster. And like you said, in every circumstance, you may not be able to get to your holster, pull your gun, take your safety off, or like you already choked out, you already stabbed by the time you get that gun out the holster. So my defense, my answer to that is, basically the moment somebody put their hands on you, as they said in the Malcolm movie, you make sure they don't put their hands on nobody else again. That's my answer for that one.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But Calvin, did you want to say something to that?
I'm 100% in agreement with my sister and to my brother Kawhi. I won't negate the power or the impact of a person who is trained and who can carry a firearm. Right. There's something called the martial effect. Right. Mm-hmm. When you're trained, whether it's firearms, when it's martial arts, if I poll my sister right here, or anybody who's been training in the martial arts for a long period of time, you would be surprised how many conflicts they've avoided. Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised how many conflicts they've walked away. And that's what training does to you. And so that's the same thing that happens when you talk about proper firearm training. You'd be surprised how many times they haven't pulled their weapon, right? Because it has its place, but then we fall back on, the mindset of a person who attacks you, period, right? Whether it's on the street, whether you're getting robbed, whether we're talking about a mass shooting, Grandmaster teaches about the mindset all of the time, right? And the number one thing that one looks for is vulnerability. And that doesn't necessarily mean woman. That doesn't necessarily mean old. That doesn't necessarily mean somebody with a disability. But what they capitalize on is your lack of awareness. And if you can eliminate the lack of awareness or increase your awareness, you would be surprised how many threats that one wards off. In these mass shootings, they're not shooting up dojos, right? They're not shooting up the mosques. They're sure not shooting up gun ranges, but they're picking the most vulnerable places in which the awareness is at an all-time low, because it compensates for their fear of retaliation and their fear of reprisal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's what I wanted to get into next. I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to talk about some of the tactics of prevention. I know both of you mentioned the mindset and the ways of dealing with it upon approach, but I wanted to give our audience some preventive measures. And on a day-to-day basis, we might see road rage, somebody bumping their horn at us, somebody cutting us off. You have your stand the ground situations. What are some preventive measures when we're approached to avoid? Because I know I have some. I've lost a lot of good people growing up, but in my neighborhood, I always had a certain way that I deal with violence or someone having a weapon or a gun, to where I know I can calm them down. I know I can create a safer situation for myself. So if I could leave the situation, I would, if I didn't have to deal with it right then and there. So I kind of dealt with their mindset, or even if it was like a mass shooting, sometimes we had those in when they had parties in the park and things like that. I developed a way to, hey, this is what we're going to do, because if something happens, we need to find shelter and cover ourselves until the situation resolves, not run, get trampled over. People are dying. Some people don't know what to do in these situations. Could we talk about some preventive measures to help our audience relieve themselves of injury or harm when these situations happen?
Absolutely. Go ahead, sister.
I was just going to say, I'm going to yield to the expert in this on this question.
Well, I don't think he's here yet, but I'll No, as an instructor in VSK Jiu-Jitsu, one of the things that I have an opportunity to teach the students, especially the younger students, but anybody who walks into a school, and this is unconventional, but the number one thing that one could do to keep themselves out of harm's way or diffuse a situation that could possibly escalate, especially when a weapon is involved, is to lose your ego, right?
Lose your ego.
Lose your ego, right? So one of the things that I share with the students, if somebody's talking about you, if somebody steps on your shoe or something like that, you have to ask yourself in this day and time, is it worth taking it to that next level? Or can you check yourself? Can you check your ego? Step on my shoe. Oh, my apologies, brother. I didn't even see you walking that way, right? Because we know the mindset of people. So that's one of the first things that I always share is to relieve that ego. And then you'll find, because most people with a firearm that are willing to pull it, a lot of, especially our people, is ego driven, right? I've seen this firsthand. A brother get his shoe stepped on. His crew hype him up. You're going to let him do that to you? Before you know it, he's blown somebody's head off, right? So check the ego. The second thing that I would suggest, and that's just, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has given us a subject, a series called The Time and What Must Be Done.
That's right.
We have to recognize the time that we are living in. We can no longer live in ignorance of the time. There are things happening today that 20 years ago, we would not, it would have been a joke to say it, right? It would have been a joke to say 20 years ago, Trump's going to be president, right? You would have laughed at that. But the things that are happening in the day that we're living in now is indicative of the time. And I say that because of the time that we're living in, we can't afford to take anything for granted. When you walk out of your house, you have to be on 10. You have to make sure that you are identifying something as simple as, are things the way that I left them, whether it's your vehicle, your driveway. When you walk into a restaurant or even a grocery store, you have to pay attention. You can't just go in there with your list and say, I'm going to come back out. You have to go in, you have to pause, take a look at what's going on, take a look at the parking lot. Does anything seem out of place? You go into a restaurant and there's people coming in the restaurant and they're lingering for whatever reason, look like they're looking around. You have to ask yourself, is anything out of place here? And as sisters know very well, when you have that intuition and when you interview these victims, that happens, they all say the same thing. Man, I knew that there was something odd about him when he came in, or there was something odd about the way that he spoke, so we have to trust our intuition, but we can't afford to let our guards down. So that means identifying exits as soon as you walk in a place, because that's the time that we're living in. That means the basics like not having your back to a door. That means that if you pull into a parking space, don't pull first head in, that you have to bag out. Bag in so that you can pull right out. These are basic things that we could do in order to just be able to get out of a situation quickly or to avoid situations altogether.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, during the last day of Ramadan, he made a comment imploring these different societies to implement security measures. Yeah, I guess he's singing out the church, other mosques, things of that nature. Do you want to? Can you please elaborate on just how important it is? I know. I was telling the ministry class not long ago that during Ramadan I was invited to an Eid feast to the masjid that's across town, and when I walked up to the door, I started investing myself all while the normal things you do at a security check post, the wallet, all the loose change, and he was like, "Come on in," and totally threw me off. totally threw me off. And I was looking around. Everybody was so very relaxed and comfortable, and I couldn't help but think to myself, man, if somebody wanted to come in here and just wreak havoc, it could do it. And this was before he made that, said that on, at the Ramadan, the close of Ramadan. So I know security is at these particular institutes or facilities are very important. Do you want to elaborate on that, or do you have? Can you tell us of other places if you've been that you was like, oh man, it just has to be some more security here, or other measures that can be taking place at these facilities to make sure that the people there are safe?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I like you, brother. I'm surprised whenever I go out into the public eye. I work for a large corporation, and I'm amazed at how relaxed the security is. And I just say right off the bat, it's every man and woman for themselves right now, right? Because nobody is taking our security at heart or more serious than we are. And so with that being said, when we're looking at what's going on in places of worship, when we're looking at what's going on in public venues altogether, the mindset to be so relaxed. I want to say something that the sister said, and I keep bringing it back to awareness. But there's an experiment that they did. It was an office building, right? And at this office building, they had coffee, like most office buildings would have coffee. And you can go in and you can grab the coffee. But they put an announcement up. They asked people to give a donation. Nobody was donating. So what they did was, by the coffee, they put a jar there and they put a picture of eyes right there. And all of a sudden they noticed that the jar went from being empty, but now stuff started to trickle in, right? Just by that small measure, just the thought that I might be being watched. Mm-hmm. So then they put up a camera. It was a dummy camera, but they put up the camera, and then the donations increased. The point is, when evil is lurking and when people are up to no good, if they believe that nobody is watching, they will exploit it, right? But the more that there are eyes or people aware or people looking, and that continues to escalate, you would be surprised. It's an intangible measure that you could do on how many things that thwarts. We can't calculate how many incidents we have thwarted in the Nation of Islam just by having security in place. We don't even know how many people said, never mind, it's a brother outside in the parking lot. So when we talk about what these places can do, we're talking about facilities that have no security at all, that have conceded to the time and have no security. The first thing that we have to do is we have to start putting on those layers. We have general orders to be especially watchful, right? And so start being watchful. That's the first thing that we have to do. The second thing is, in addition to that, we have to train people how to not only be watchful, but how to deal with people. And then I'm going to go back to your first question. Those people we train have to be fearless enough that they understand that whatever place of worship they're protecting, that place is worthy for them to give their lives. There's nothing like going up against a person who doesn't care about losing their life.
That's right.
You'd be surprised what impact that has on the
That absolutely. That's right. Wonderful answer. Also, if I may, when we talk, Brother Calvin was expressing so eloquently about preventive and about us having security in these different places. Another thing to that in a preventive way of potentially getting hurt or potentially protecting a specific place from some kind of danger is to be obedient. Wherever he say go, wherever he say stay from. And I thought about that as the brother talked about being watchful. being especially watchful, you know, and the next few words is at night. So,
That's
you
right.
know, for those of us in the Nation of Islam, we have curfew, you know, things happen at night. I heard the minister say one time, the freaks come out at night, you
Right.
know, things happen at night. So if we don't have work or any specific business to take care of, we shouldn't be hanging out, you know, late at night. We shouldn't be in these different arenas or areas where that are not secured. And I don't care where I've gone that has security, nobody locks it down like us. And I think next to us may be TSA, because they don't let nothing, like they don't even let a drink of water go through the line. But you know, we start with check. You know, in a lot of these facilities, they have security, but unfortunately, they're there. If something happens, now they have to react. We're proactive with our security. So when you come in the door, you get checked. We check you out real quick. Make sure that you don't have any weapons. We check your spirit. We check your thinking. You know, you move on from there. That doesn't mean that somebody is not going to get through with anything or still go through the check and not have the intent of doing something harmful. So then we have those who are especially watchful inside, you know, monitoring certain movement, certain actions, you know, the agitated guest, the agitated believer, you know, whatever it is, we remain watchful. So I had to go to that about being obedient, because to me, that's one of the first things that we have to remember. And that jarred my memory and my thought process when brother talked about us being especially watchful.
Man. And I want to retract my statement. I just want to use what she said. That's really what I meant to say.
Look, I'm feeling this crazy because look at us. What both of you are saying is that certain education and certain training calls you the duty to be responsible, take charge of disposing of temple property in view.
That's right.
For some reason, I always feel like that, and some of my brothers in my family, we go into places where there might not be security. It might seem like there's a threat, but just our presence seems like we change the atmosphere.
Yes.
But it's almost the same way as when I'm in a place and someone walks in and they have a firearm and it's showing. For some reason, that changes the whole atmosphere of the, and everybody's looking now, and it creates a whole different environment. But I know that I have a certain training. That means now I have a certain responsibility. So is that something to what you're both are speaking to?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are responsible. You know, when we first of all, like you said, we command a certain level of respect. One thing that if you ask a lot of people who are not a part of the Nation of Islam what they think about the Nation of Islam, next to bean pies, they're gonna say security, right? So you know, you just not gonna act up around the brothers. You just right. Not gonna come to the mosque and act up and not, you know, be able to talk about it later without, you know, a couple of bandages or something, you know, going on. And I grew up in old school, number 7, you know, all praises due to Allah. So, you know, just certain things just didn't happen. And right. And even in the community, like, you know, as a Muslim girl, I felt safe in my community, not just at the mosque, but in my community. It was nothing for the brothers to go walking down 125th Street, 100 plus strong on a Sunday. It wasn't nothing for me to go to school or come out of school in the afternoon and see brothers on the corners selling papers. And so I didn't just feel safe at the mosque, but I felt safe in my community. And if there were no FOI around, just the reputation that the brothers had, or that the Nation of Islam had, made me feel secure. Oh, she's with the nation. No,
That's right.
think twice about that one, you know. But you know, so I'm that's just, you know, my thought process with that. I just feel that the presence of the nation absolutely changes a lot, the thought process, but it comes with being trained, it comes with being diligent, it comes with being watchful, it comes with not thinking that, you know, that nothing's going to happen just because we're the Nation of Islam. So when we come into the mosque, or we're out working and soldiering, and of course we know Islam is a way of life. It's not just you know, something we put on and take off on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, but because we walk this way 7 days a week, wherever we go, we walk with that same spirit. We walk with that same focus, you know, that there's a certain level of respect that we command, and I'm watchful, and certain things is just not going to happen on my watch. So
can I ask you a question, sister?
Yes, sir.
This is more specific in terms of safety for sisters. Is there a certain cutoff time that you have when you go get gas? I'm just asking.
Don't start no trouble, brother. Don't start no trouble.
What you mean?
Okay, I might have. Well, for we're talking about security,
Right? Yes,
talking
sir.
about, you know, putting yourself in position to always be secure.
Secured. That's right. Yes,
Right.
sir.
So most stuff happen at night.
That's right.
So my question was, there certain times a day where you say, if I don't have my gas by this time, I ain't getting it, or if I ain't got my groceries by this time, I'm not going? Is that
That's
something?
right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, for me, by praise be to Allah, I have a husband, and then I have 3 big sons, so I don't have to touch a gas nozzle too often. But if I did, by Allah's grace and permission, it would never be at night. I'm not going out at night too much, pretty much for anything. But if there was a circumstance that I needed to go out, between the 4 of them, they're going to make sure that I have that. Now, for a sister that's single and does not have that, I absolutely would suggest that not only is she not out at night getting gas, but you know what? If you look at social media has allowed us to see so much, but so many carjackings and attacks at gas station sometimes happen at night, but they happen in the daytime too. So we still have to be watchful. It's imperative that we not leave our children in the car and go in to pay for gas. It's imperative that we not leave the car running and turn our backs and not still keep a watch of you know, who's coming in and who's coming out, who's pulling up, and not, you know, just not paying attention when we pull in to see who's sitting, what kind of vehicles are there, who's standing around. So yes, whether it's day or night, we should still be mindful about these things, but absolutely not to be, you know, doing something like that at night, going to the ATM at night, going to, you know, certain areas and certain things that if you're out at night as a sister, as a woman, it should be to work and back. And that really should be the only reason, unless there's some kind of other emergency. And the beauty of our training is we have we're taught to report. So even if my husband or my boys are not here and I need to go out for something, it's nothing for me to pick up the phone and say, listen, I got to make this run. Can you stay on the phone with me? Or I got to make this run. I'll be right back. I'll text you. I'll call you when I get back and let you know. And, you know, the beautiful thing about my community is if they don't get that call or text, when I say I'm a call or text, they calling me. Right. Hey, I'm on my way because I didn't hear from you, you know. So we have to cover each other like that as well.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. Does that answer your question, Brother Coley?
Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
It did. It did. Yeah.
That wasn't my question. We didn't plan that one.
But that was, I mean, that was good for prevention in dealing with insecurity for our sisters. That was beautiful, sister. That was greatly appreciated. Go ahead, Brother Jackie. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me introduce. For those who don't know, we had a link come on the screen. But hey, it's my brother. He's here.
Yes, sir.
He's blessing our stage. It's Brother Jackie, our brother, your brother, but it's Jackie Muhammad.
Give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more.
My brother.
No, but Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum salam, sir.
I was wondering how important, I hope this wasn't asked, but how important do you all think that, and if you do, what age is it, how important is it that we train our children in the point of security, and what age do we start training them? Just to our guests, and how important is that, and what age do we start training our children in terms of security?
I say at the point that the baby can throw the bottle. That's when we start training them, because that's what we were taught, that we teach the babies to throw the bottle at the enemy. I don't believe any age is too young to start teaching our children how to do self-defense. And it absolutely warms my heart every time I attend a national training and I see our babies out there rolling out and falling and smacking the mat and, kicking their little legs up, because that even if their enemy is a big man, an adult, someone that's, adult size trying to attack them, just the fact that they have the heart to fight back, because that's what we're taught, to fight with those who fight with us. So I don't believe that any age is too young. All of my children, them boys, they were subject to gut shots, at 4 or 5. What you gonna do about it? Hey, you let me get through. You let me box you up, boy. And my daughter, she's been training this girl, by Allah's grace and permission. When I would go to my Vanguard training classes, she was right there with me growing up. So she's been training. That girl is nasty with them knife strikes, them MP strikes. There's no age too young. At the point that they can throw the bottle, you teach them danger. You teach them how to defend themselves. You teach them not to speak to strangers. And the preventive part, you teach them not to be so friendly with people. Do you know them? Then you don't talk to them. And I have friendly children. Muslim children are very friendly, and they want to wave at everybody and they want to smile at everybody. But you have to, you don't want to make them robots. You don't want to make them mean and, just mean mugging everybody. But you want to teach them awareness from the moment they can understand it. Put it in there, as the messengers say, put it in that fine language that they understand, whatever it is at that time or whatever the age, you teach them defense and security.
Beautiful answer.
Yes, ma'am. Brother Calvin, you have anything to add to that, sir?
Listen, I could just put my stamp of approval on everything that sister said.
You, brother.
I'm telling you, I agree. I concur. And she used the minister's word. The minister taught us that, teach the babies to throw a baby bottle. The question is, at how young are children being put in danger? And whatever that age is, they need to start training. I have a 4-month-old son. And you would be surprised at what he can do with his fingernails if he gets them behind the soft tissue of your ear and inside your lip, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're never too young to start to learn to defend themselves. And if I can quote Brother Salaritis, who is a instructor of our Grandmaster Abdul Aziz Muhammad, when you teach them how to train, we teach them how to scratch somebody. So if they get away, we could dig underneath the fingernails and do some identifying.
That's right.
And so it is never too young to teach anyone, or for that matter, never too old as well.
Yes.
Beautiful.
The sister, as I was coming on, and sister, is it Talia? Ali.
Yes, sir.
You talked about walking around in New York, and in my mind I was thinking about the OGs, the original gods that
Come on now.
in our present, and how important it is. Me and Ahmed talk about this, how important it is for those who have been around, to always be present.
That's
And
right.
when we get to that point, inshallah, how important it is for us to constantly be present, to constantly offering, just advice. And, it's so important. Do you all experience that where you are, having seasoned veterans around, and how does that make you feel? You know, just talk about that if you could, the importance of having pioneers around, the importance of having, just older brothers and sisters, seasoned brothers and sisters around, And,
Absolutely.
do you
Yes,
all feel that when it comes to security and whatnot and everything else?
absolutely. Old men for counsel, young men for war. Our brothers and sisters, they're like you said, our trailblazers. They've been doing it long before we have. And even though security evolves, because we start coming down to modern day times, you'll find that what they have to offer still suits us just fine. I love to sit with the older brothers and sisters and hear them tell the stories. I've always been around that, growing up in New York. At the time when I was younger, it was student minister Kareem Muhammad, and he would always talk, the war stories. I love the war stories. You know, my father, by Allah's grace and permission, Brother Abdul Aziz, the other brother Abdul Aziz,
Right.
he was a captain in New York when I was growing up. By Allah's grace and permission, he was blessed to be on the minister's security. So, now being a sister growing up and working dignitary protection, there's a lot that he has to offer me and to help me to make sure that I'm successful in doing what he already was doing, what he's done. And the same for my brother and my son. He really, it's like having a in-home trainer. So we come to the trainings and we learn everything as the times evolve, but we don't forget the base. We don't forget the base. So yes, sir, the pioneers are absolutely necessary, because they have the ability to, when you know your history, then you know how to move forward in the future.
That's right.
I concur with that as well. I have to. Look, I'm about to turn my camera and my mic off. Just to speak. But I have the honor of serving in the labor as a student captain here in Kansas City, Missouri. And not only my brother is that important, but that is an embedded military strategy.
Come on.
Whenever you talk about going to war, no proficient, no powerful military would think about going into battle without having intelligence. And intelligence in its simplest form are the experiences and the situations, the aggregate situations that have happened in the past, to incorporate those into your future strategy.
That's right.
And the way that we do that is by keeping our pioneers, is by having those who have experience, who have wisdom, who have insight into certain areas. Otherwise, I don't care how mighty one is, I don't care how strong one is, I don't care how virile one is, but without proper intelligence, and in Islam we call it a council, you would just walk your way right into a trap and defeat with all of your strength and power.
That's right.
Praise be to Allah. It's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock to our guests and our co-hosts. We usually take a break and go into a brief commercial break where we introduce some of our products and some of our businesses that support the Jock Brothers panel. But when we come back, we're going to be discussing the International Training Conference, where you will be able to, it's coming up in July, where you'll be able to get some of this training that our guests are speaking about. And when we go into the next half hour, I wanted to start with both of you, if you can ponder on this during the break. On both of you are trainers. I wanted to just hear some of the difficulties that you have in training our people or others in different communities, how you overcome those difficulties in training them. But we're going to take a short break. Our brother Jackie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Jock Nation, want to thank you for tuning in. As usual, Tuesday at 7 o'clock, not 7:50 as I came on. But praise Allah, we want to thank you for continues to tune in and support Jock Brothers, a podcast that we have been striving to keep you informed on what's out here, all the information, modern information, anything that can help you and your family survive in these times. So we ask you to continue to support our Cash App, $ Jock Bros, $ Jock Bros, nickel, dimes, and pennies. We thank you for what you have given thus far, and we ask you to continue to give, because it helps us give you the best quality program that we possibly can. Also, we want to continue our prison initiative, the final call. We're striving to put the final call throughout the prisons in America. We're asking you to support that initiative. Go to Jock Brothers Viewers at gmail.com. Send us the name and information of any inmates, brothers or sisters, who you would like for us to support. Putting the final call in there. We need all the information that you can gather of that facility, including the the warning or the imam of that community, his or her information. So we ask you to continue to support that initiative, to put the final call, the boldest, the most unadulterated truth newspaper that we have on the planet. And we need to get that and keep that amongst our brothers and sisters to keep them sane while they're behind in the belly of the beast. We also want to point out our sponsors of the program. We want to start with our brother Kawi Muhammad, Abdul Kawi Muhammad, excuse me. He's a realtor. He does commercial and residential real estate. Our brother is very diligent when it comes to real estate. You ask him something, he's right on it. So we wanted to ask you to support if you're in anywhere. Brother Kawi, what do you cover? Do you cover is it just Union City? Is it just Riverdale? Is it just Atlanta? How far do you cover, sir?
The entire state of Georgia. And we have partnerships all over the country. So if that's a place in Denver that you wanted to know about, I can get that information as well through all affiliates.
Kansas City?
Kansas City, USA. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I have just people to call to get that information. Yes, sir.
All right. So if you have any questions dealing with real estate of any property that you're interested in, so you see our brother's number 404-671-5681, and you can contact him. He's always up. Praise the Lord. All right. We'd like to go to our next sponsor, which is Bilal and the Bullies. This is the book by our brother Ahmed Biar. He has his own publishing company as well. And if you have in mind you would like to write your own book and you would like to have it published, you can publish it through Biar Publishing. And definitely we want to support, but we want to support our brother's book. This is his first book, and it's a great book. I read it myself. It's wonderful. And I also offer myself to read it at any school. If you're a teacher online and you want us to read to your elementary class, we offer ourselves to come in and read it. We also do it through Zoom. And so we want to support our brother. If you have a school or if you have a nursery, you can get a wholesale price of our brother. Just reach out to BR Publishing and contact him at brpublishing@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, you have any wholesale questions, you like to get multiple copies, definitely we want to support our brother book. Anything you would like to add, Brother Ahmed?
No, sir.
Okay.
I haven't started publishing other authors yet. So you said that earlier, but I haven't started publishing other authors yet.
What are you able to do it, sir?
No, not at this time. No,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. All right. So he don't even want to step out there. So right now we're just gonna leave him alone on that one. Praise Allah. And if you have any roll-off dumpster needs in the Atlanta metro area, Supreme Waste Removal is my company. We are a sanitation company, but we provide dumpster rental, 20-yard, 30-yard, 40-yard dumpster rental. We have several. And definitely if you have any dumpster needs in the Atlanta metro area, that means from Griffin, Alpharetta, Covington, Villa Rica, anywhere within those circles, we coming. So definitely give that number a call, 404-957-7639, and we can cover all your sanitation needs. Thank you once again, Jock Nation. We ask you, thank you, Brother Ahmed. You can go right ahead.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So we're in the last half hour of the show. We wanted to introduce the International Training Conference that's coming up in July. But first, I just wanted you both to just speak on the difficulties in some of the security, in some of the training, the difficulties you have in training when you're training individuals and groups.
For me, I would say maybe the most difficult part of training would be trying to train someone who doesn't really see the need for the training, or training someone who has the thought process that it could never happen to me. So that's the most difficult person to train, because you have to have a certain kind of mindset, even in training. Like if you're playing and training, then when you get in the real fight, you're going to get hurt because you was playing and training. So how you practice is going to be how you perform in the real situation. So for me, a person who is not serious about it, because for whatever reason, whether they don't see the need in it, whether they just, some of us are prissy girls, we just don't really fight, punch, but that's the most difficult. That's the difficulty factor that I would say that I've come across, is trying to train someone who doesn't find the need for the training.
Praise be to Allah. But Cal?
Yeah, as an extension of what my sister said, because mindset is number one. It's critical. I keep referring back to the time and what must be done. As an instructor, and this may be startling, I have a school, and I'd like to say about 60 to 70% of the people who walk in and join a class never stay. Right? They end up quitting.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I first walked into a dojo, I was 13 years old. First walked into a dojo. The master then had told me, there are phases that you go through. He said, you may know how to street fight, but when you come in, your first phase is we got to undo everything that you've been taught about fighting, right? Whether it's the way that you hold your hands, which is good enough to get your fingers broke if you really throw a hard punch, or whatever the case is, you have to train consistently to break that down. He said, then when we break that down, you're at the most vulnerable stage, because now you don't have a foundation anymore, right? You used to be second nature at what you used to do, but we broken that down through drills. But now you have to build up a new way of fighting. And if you quit there, you're worse than you were when you walked in, because you don't even have the old way of fighting anymore. We broke all that down. And so when you go through those phases, you know, one of the things that we want people to do is to stay consistent. And that's with anything. Stay consistent with your training. And that ties into what the sister was saying, understanding the time that we live in it, and understand nobody is immune to these threats. And the only thing that you really have to survive them is to train. So my biggest challenge is commitment. People who come in and then they give up on themselves for whatever reason. And then the saddest thing that happened is something happens to them and they overcome in a conflict. And now they come back with hindsight, but it's unfortunately something has already transpired.
Right. Beautiful point.
So what is the International Training Conference? What is it? What is the International Training Conference? For those who don't know.
I'm going to yield because my sister got that beautiful flyer up, so I may allow her to go first.
Praise be to Allah. Well, the International Training Conference, I've been attending the conference for quite some time. I'm really excited about this one because there was during the pandemic, right before the training that we had during the pandemic, Allah blessed us to be able to have it via Zoom. That was great. And then for the next training after that, unfortunately, because of my health, I couldn't attend. But so I'm super excited about being at this training this year. There's so much that the training offers. As I said earlier, we have the segment. I feel like I'm doing a commercial.
You are. You are. Just do a commercial.
We have the segment for our children where they get that mat time and they get to train with Suke, one of my favorite instructors, and GM, of course, my absolute fave. And they love it. They love it. They come out, they're doing their little training, and they're a part of it. They also offer like workshops for the teens. So my children, I've been going and I've been taking my children with me when I attend. And here in the city of Charlotte, that's a big thing. We try to get all of our juniors to go. We try to get all the Vanguard, all the young brothers, we try to get everybody to go. So it's a big deal for us here in Charlotte. We always push and promote the national training. So you also are going to get the women's only training. Love it. My sensei, Brother Solaritus, tip him and GM.
Oh, she froze up. Go ahead, Brother Calvin.
Yes, sir. Well, sister was doing such an amazing job, and every time I thought, oh, wait a minute, can I reintroduce her? My sister's back. Go ahead.
I don't know what happened. It just went black. Okay, so I'm gonna land this plane, as the minister said. But the sisters, we have the women's only training. We come together on the last day. We get to train with all the other instructors and senseis and masters, and then the icing on the cake, I'm gonna save that for Brother Calvin, because this is the best part of the training. Go ahead, Brother Calvin.
Absolutely, I know what you're talking about too, sister. I smell what you're cooking. Okay, so I can't talk about the training without talking about the origins. And in 1995 at the Million Man March, which is the first time I met Grandmaster Abdul Aziz Muhammad, student assistant supreme captain international training. It was and unbeknownst to a lot of people, there was a group that was assembled at the Million Man March, where there was a call put out for all martial artists, law enforcement, correctional officers, boxers. If you had any type of skill, they brought that group together, and that group was assembled and given some training at the Million Man March, and they were called the Emergency Response Unit, right? From that, which is, again, that was the first time I had the opportunity to meet our Grandmaster Abdul Aziz Muhammad. From that, the following year, there was something put on in Chicago, and it was called an officer's training, right? And the officer's training was put in place to standardize the training in particular. It was just the FOI at the time, in particular the FOI officers guide. It was to give us some self-defense training, but it was also to give us some mosque protocol training and some security training, whether it was motorcade, whether it was dignitary protection, but it was to standardize the training that the officers got. Well, it was a small group at that point. I have a picture. It was about maybe 20 of us that attended that. And then, of course, some more came on the last day with the martial artists. But out of that grew what we know as the National Training Conference. And that's what we are now. You notice we call it the International Training Conference because this train is rolling and we can't even stop the growth right now if we wanted to. If Grandmaster said that he didn't want to have the National Training Conference today, oh man, it would be an uprising because of the demand for the training. Last year, we had nearly 900 people who came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the training. And as my sister pointed out, there was a need that needed to be fulfilled. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asked our brother, Grandmaster Abdulaziz Muhammad, to move from New York to Chicago to be the national trainer. And in that, he started to assemble, not just by himself, but he sourced the entire Nation of Islam for subject matter experts who could bring whatever they've invested their time in, whether it is security. And we have some, when we talk about some profound security trainers, it is next level. It is something that you have never seen before. That the credentials are unmatched. We have some of the best. When we talk about dignitary protection, we have some of the best in the world that are offering that training. But the key is that only about 30% of the training happens on the mat. The rest of it is in classrooms.
That's right.
And so you get everything from, we talked about how does this apply to you get everything from how to prep your own hotel room when you go into it, how to secure your family and yourself when you check into a hotel room.
That's right.
You get the type of awareness if you're not in the motorcade, but how do you properly inspect your vehicle? How do you drive your vehicle defensively? And so we have all of these classes that are taking place. And this year it's in Chicago, July 28th through the 30th. And look, if you could just take my word for it, this is something, if you're listening or you're watching, you do not want to miss, because I can guarantee you the national training has saved lives. And it has altered the course of how we look at security in the Nation of Islam. Whatever you're doing around the Nation of Islam, as far as security in your mosque, chances are it got there by way of the training at the national training.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I wanted to deal with those acronyms that you mentioned earlier. The security awareness, focus, empowerment, training, and your survival.
Yes, sir.
That acronym is basically what sums up safety.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. If we can get our engineer to put the website, what website should they go to get information for the training?
www.thevskjujitsu, that's JIU-jitsu.com. That is www.thevskjujitsu.com. And that is the website in which you can register. And as our sister said, there's something for everybody. There's workshops for the children, workshops for the family. There are specifically officers' workshops for those within the Nation of Islam. Every aspect that you need is open to the general public. It's not just for the Nation of Islam. We have classes now that are open for the general public. Last year, we actually trained over 60 staff members for the city of Milwaukee's violence interruption unit. And so we it's open to everybody.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you said that, because I really didn't know if it was open to the public. I'm glad you said that, brother.
So if you go onto the website, you'll be able to register and book your rooms. You still have 2 months.
Listen, I'm gonna say this. First of all, it's in the VSK Jiu-Jitsu is JIUJITSU.com. I see it's JUJ. But that may take you somewhere you don't want to be.
Hey, don't worry about it, man. Our engineer, he only went to the 3rd grade, bro.
Hey, well, he in good company, brother.
Yeah.
But I will say this, having an opportunity to be in the background and part of the staff, I would encourage you, if you're watching this now, don't hesitate to register. Every week we have, because we have different departments within the Nation of Islam, and people are snatching up rooms so quick that we have to try and negotiate with the hotel every single week to add more rooms. Right. And so I want to encourage you, if you're listening, go ahead and go to the website, register, and secure your rooms ASAP. I promise you, you want to get that done. Now, we have registration open, but I just want to encourage you, if you're thinking about coming to the national training, go ahead and make that decision to come.
Okay. Now, you heard what he said. There's only 5 rooms left. No. It's expedient that you move out on this, because there's not a lot of space left. So this training is international training. It's a wonderful training. It can provide security training for yourself and your family. You don't know, it could save your life and it can save your family members' lives. So let's get this training in. Let's get the information in. Let's share this video and all this information that we received tonight. I thank you both for coming on tonight to give us and share this information and knowledge to our audience. At this stage of our program, we just like to go around and give last comments and last words that you want to say to our audience. If we can start with our sister, please.
Praise be to Allah. I just want to thank the Jack brothers again for allowing me to come on the show and be in the presence of my brothers. Yes, all praises due to Allah. I'd like to thank Brother Calvin Muhammad for all the wonderful information that he has offered. And I'd like to thank Grandmaster for this wonderful training that I am absolutely looking forward to. And words can't adequately express what you walk away with when you attend the national training. So just want to say it one more time. If you haven't, go to the website, register, and we'll see you in Chicago. All roads lead to Chicago in July.
Right. That's right. Praise be to Allah. Brother Calvin?
Yes, sir. And I want to follow in those footsteps. I want to, brothers, I've had an opportunity to watch some of your podcasts. You have some very profound information out there. And so I want to thank you all for everything that you're doing, not just for the podcast, but for the initiatives that you're doing with the prison ministry and all that you do. We appreciate, you all are definitely jewels. And so we appreciate all the hard work and sacrifice that you are doing. And I want to thank my sister for, bringing out of us, all of us, while we were listening, giving us a perspective and a side that maybe we would not have had our sister not been present. She's given me some things to ponder and think about when we get off this. So we appreciate all the insight and wisdom that you have shared with us as well, my sister. And, as we talk about the national training, we have security, awareness, focus, empowerment, training, and your survival. Those words are not just an acronym, but they are a formula, right? They are a formula to give us a complete training, the things that we need, the ingredients that you need so that we can make ourselves secure and make our community secure. And I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it's something that I repeat. At one of our first national trainings, we had our dear jewel in the Nation of Islam, our dear brother, Sijo Steve Muhammad, who had attended, and he was doing some training then. And I had never been trained like I had been trained with that particular workshop that brother gave us. And if I can quote something that I take to heart, I think about it every single day. Well, first of all, let me tell you about that brother's spirit. I'm glad Grandmaster had him. And he said at that time, he said, I don't care. I want to be a part of this fight. And I don't care if I can never, if I can't move anymore, if I'm paralyzed, if I can't walk, can't talk. He said, just stand me up, put a sword in my hand and lay somebody down in front of me and push me over on him, right? That's the type of spirit our brother has. Yeah. And so he left us with a saying.
Man.
He said that in a crisis situation, I'm going to always say this, in a crisis situation,
My
the
God.
only thing that you could fall back on is what you have trained for.
Right.
And if you have nothing that you have trained for, there is nothing that you can fall back on. And
Come
so
on.
I'll leave with that.
Praise be to
Man,
Allah.
thank you, brother.
Brother Jackie.
Yes, sir. It's funny you bring up Brother Joe. I'm going to his training tomorrow. We have him here in Atlanta by Allah's grace. And if you would, you go back and watch one of our podcasts where we interview him. It's one of the profound interviews we've done dealing with the training, man. He has I love his philosophy, or maybe that's not the right word, but philosophy for right now, what I can think of fighting, and definitely those of you who haven't watched that interview, go back and watch the interview with Joe Steve Muhammad. It's a very good interview. But we want to thank both of you all for coming on, sharing with us a wealth of information from both sides, from our sister side and our brother side. Definitely want to thank you, and thank both of you for what you do for our nation of Islam, your sacrifice. And we thank you for your kind words, Brother Calvin, as well. Jock Nation, we like our brother said, we cannot take our safety for granted. Some of us, believe that this mystery God is gonna fight all of our battles, but he wants to use our hands. And if our hands don't have any skill, this is what he's going to be able to fight with. So we definitely want to give ourselves a chance, by gaining knowledge, gaining information, being around the knowledge, being around the information, being a part of it, to survive this modern climate. And like our brothers say, we don't want to fall back on nothing. We want to have something in our arsenal so that we don't panic and become so emotional that we run to danger instead of avoiding it. So security is very important, family. So those of you who are listening, and as our brother said, our international training is open to those who may not be in the Nation of Islam. So definitely take advantage, and come and get the information. We are better than TSA. With all the equipment they got, man, all we need is a pair of gloves, and we good. We good. So,
Brother Jackie, I'm so sorry. I apologize. It was eating my mind up. I just have to make sure that I take the point home and thank again my teacher since 1996. Grandmaster Abdul Aziz Muhammad. People don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and if you've ever done an event, the tenacity by which, and the sacrifice that he's undergone, him and his beautiful wife, to make sure to offer these trainings at his own expense many times. And so, everything he has groomed me and many others like me to make sure that we have the proper mindset. And I will be remiss if I didn't express my gratitude and my thanks for my teacher, Grandmaster Abdul Aziz Muhammad, and knowing all the hard work and sacrifice and his thought of making sure that everybody who comes to the national training receives what he believes the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan wants them to receive. So I would have been remiss if I didn't say that. Thank you, my brother.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's proper. All right, well, thank you, Brother Ahmed. I'm good. You're muted, Ahmed. Let's get this engineer. Can we unmute Ahmed, please? Okay, thank you.
Brother Kawi.
Yes, sir. Brother Kevin, again, thanks for the kind words in which you gave the Jock Brothers. Really appreciate that. And again, your knowledge, man, just your overall knowledge of security and what is needed in this day and time is just priceless. And so I thank you for taking that invitation again. We couldn't get the Grand Master on, but hey, man, we had to pick anybody outside of the Grand Master to come on the show.
Great representation.
We got the right person in. So I really appreciate that, Brother Kevin. And sister, we never had one on the show to talk to talk this candid with us on defense.
Really?
So,
Praise be to Allah.
yeah, and so it was refreshing to get that perspective. We appreciate it. So many more questions I want to ask you because I have a woman dominated family, and I would love to go and take some of the jewels that you dropped on the show to them. So like this, I could just say watch the show. You don't have to listen to me. I could just say watch her. So you gave us that element in this show that we haven't before, and I appreciate that. And so anytime we have another show like this, oh man, I hope I can reach out to you.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir.
So thank you so much for taking the invitation.
Thank you.
And please get a Grandmaster my best, the greetings from me.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd like to thank you both again for joining us on the show. And like brother said, we like to thank Grandmaster Abdulaziz Muhammad for opening his doors to us and allowing this training to go on, for allowing us to take part of this training. Also like to thank both of your families for all their support, because both of you have trained and sacrificed in this nation, and it takes a lot of sacrifice, not just for yourselves, but also your families as well. So we like to reach out and thank them as well. And we will have another show next month closer to the international training, which will we reach out so we can give more information about the international training and invite more of our guests to come on and learn more about it. So just if you could both be prepared for that, Brother Kawi.
Yes, and I noticed on your flyer it didn't have Jock Brothers official. We're in our official capacity when it comes to the training. So just wanted to let you know it wasn't on the flyer, so we could update the flyer.
Those who don't know, we are the official podcast of the training. We definitely will have the breakdown. We definitely will be there to show what was going on behind the scene and talking to those who were there. So definitely. Thank you, Chicago. We need our stamp. We don't worry, we'll have it for you in Chicago, inshallah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And that's no slight to Rockwell Radio. We have our own broadcast here where we are invited to certain venues as the host interviewers there. Yes. Anyway, so let's look forward to our next show, brothers and sisters. And we'd like to thank our audience for taking time out of their busy schedules. Please join us next week, 7 p.m. Tuesday, and share this show. You can find it on Facebook and YouTube at Jock Brothers. You can find it on Facebook and YouTube. So share it, get this information out, and we look forward to seeing everyone next week, inshallah. Thank you all.
Thank you.